Steve Jobs has spent a couple of weeks in Kaichidham, and then he went back, and that's when he told Mark Zuckerberg, came back, and of course, what he's done with Facebook, with Meta AI. And this film is not just about spirituality, but it also has something to do with teachings and the relationships between two friends. I'm not worried about AI taking over jobs, because creativity is something that needs a lot of depth, and that depth can be just got by humans.
Anupriya Nagar recently produced a film about Hanuman Ansh, set to release in June 2026. So how do you make this balance in terms of the use of technology and the use of on the spirituality part?
I don't think the modern and the ancient thought process are any different. They're literally the same. We're calling it wellness and mental health and mental peace, but that is on the same basis of our ancient wisdom. The spirituality. I want to take this to all the Gen Zs and even the ones younger. In the UK, I have gotten in contact with 65 schools and universities all across. I want to talk to the children one-on-one.
Hello everyone. My team and I have been crafting content and stories that inform, inspire, empower, and bring real value to you. If you haven't already, please take a moment to check that you're subscribed. It's the easiest way to support our work and stay updated with every new release. Join us on this journey of learning and discovery. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for our latest drops. Hello and welcome to the Dinesh Guarda YouTube podcast show. Once again, powered by Wisdomi.ai, citiesabc.com and businessabc.net. Today, I'm particularly excited to bring to this series and show a new dimension that we've been actually touching, but that I want to go deep dive. So I want to touch three areas that are particularly very personal, but probably in a show that is mostly about business and technology doesn't display so much. So I'm going to touch about film, which is one of my passions, spirituality, that I think should be a passion of everyone in the world, and thirdly, a young generation, especially a generation that is going to grow up with a lot of differences, part of all the changes we're discussing in this show. So for this series, I welcome Anupriya Nagar, that is a young producer with a background as economist and art collector, who has recently produced a film about Hanuman Ansh. That is a film set to release in June 2026, and that looks at creating impact and narratives that balance spirituality and all the different areas around some personality so influential as this spiritual leader. When you talk about someone like Anupriya, we need to look at someone that is quite young. We're talking in our early 20s, but someone that is already producing a film, taking the responsibility of production, taking it to a lot of international festivals, and looking out, you take forward the film, bear in mind all the changes of technology, streaming platforms, and different genres that we are dealing nowadays. So I'm quite excited to look at this and look as well of the angles that I mentioned before. So without further delay, Anupriya, it's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much, Dennis, for that wonderful introduction. I'm so happy and fortunate to be here, and I'm super excited for this interview.
No, me too, because it's not every day that I can touch about these different things. Especially, I think your generation, and I'm a father as well, is probably one of the generations that is going to be probably having one of the biggest challenging times in history, especially when it comes to all the three areas that we're touching here.
Absolutely.
So you come from India, but you had a fantastic international education, but as well, you are a person of a lot of different worlds. So the Indian background, the international as well background, then the film, spirituality, economy, and as well art dealing and so forth. So tell us about that background, a bit of education.
Absolutely. So I have born and brought up in Mumbai, the heart of Bollywood. There's no surprise that I've been drawn to art and filmmaking, storytelling. And I have studied in this school named Arya Vidya Mandir, and I have always been, around spirituality, not only at home but also at my school as well. And then later on, I went to study at Jamnabai, and then I came to the UK and studied economics at the University of Bath. And it was just not solely an academic experience for me. It was also, I realized that I was craving my Indian culture, especially during festivals and the traditions that we used to have back at home. And I was glad to find this one temple in Bath, led by a small Indian community. And then I used to go there every festival, Diwali, Holi, and I kind of found my home away from home. And you know how they say you can take the girl out of India, but not India out of the girl, and that's me. But I'm very fortunate to have amazing people around me and amazing support. And I came into this film, I feel like it was all Baba's grace, and he has allowed us to make this film. In fact, during my final years, when I was doing this module, investment in banking, and that's when we had to research on the different companies to invest in and the portfolio to make. And then that's when I was going through Steve Jobs, not just as a businessman, but as a thinker, how he came about Apple. And that's when I came across an article in Economics Times which said that Neem Karoli Baba is actually the one who inspired Steve Jobs to go on and make Apple. And I thought to myself that, there are so many foreigners, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Julia Roberts, who have been inspired by him. In fact, Julia Roberts started following Hinduism just by looking at a picture. But I felt that this is an inner calling, and I wanted to tell his story not just to all Indians but all across the world. And that's when I had this amazing team that was formed back in India. We went for the shooting to Chitrakoot, which is where Lord Ram has spent a lot of time over there. And it was the perfect location, and that's how we came across. And in fact, I've always been, drawn to art, and I have represented my country on the national level as well, being in the UK. So, that's that sense of pride of being an Indian, even not in the Indian soil. So all of that pride, culture, spirituality, and storytelling, I've poured all of that into this, and we're now coming out with Hanuman Anj in June 2026.
So there's a lot of things there. So first of all, from India to the UK, your ancestral passion for history, for spirituality, and as well to study different things and then coming to film, and as well studying like Steve Jobs and how that brought. So I would like to look at, for instance, when you start the idea of producing this film, and it's a documentary, but it touches a lot of different areas. How did you look at it? And especially bear in mind that you are just 20 years old. How did you look at the film as, first of all, the medium to build this, but as well in crossover all these different things?
Absolutely. So I am Gen Z, and I'm growing up in an environment where there are different channels where you can tell your story. There are different ways that you can be storytelling. But Jawaharlal Nehru once said that one film is equal to 10,000 textbooks. And my entire team and I, we have spent an entire year researching, going to the locations, talking to people who've actually spent time with Neem Karoli Baba. We have so much data that is collected that we can make 10 films. Our director Vishal Chaturvedi ji has written a very beautiful book as well on Neem Karoli Baba, on which our movie is based on. But we felt that we're making 3 films now, and this is just the first one. It's a trilogy, and this is the best way to go forward, because in this way we will be not only releasing all over India, pan India, but we want to go to UK, to the US, Canada, Singapore, everywhere we want to go, and we want to touch this to different parts of the world, and in different peoples from different ethnicities, because I feel like this film is not just about spirituality, but it also has something to do with teachings and the relationships between two friends, or a teacher and a student. And it's just like that kind of the relations and the stories that we've brought together. And that's how we decided that we want to go the theoretical way. And also we've got 10 beautiful songs in our film. And Krishna Das Ji, who is a very famous American vocalist, has blessed us with the film. He has very, very gracefully, he has touched the poster to his forehead, and he has given us 2 of his chants that we can be using in our film. So there's a lot of amazing things and graceful things that have happened, and hence we have taken the path of the theoretical release.
That's amazing, and congratulations for that. So the subject of your film, Hanuman Ansh, so it's a crossover of spiritual storytelling, and it's been combining spirituality, youth culture, wellness, and contemporary cinematic expression. That is what you brought for the film. So first, for people that don't know about who is Hanuman Ansh, if you could explain from your own perception, because I'm very interested to see how someone young like you that is looking at technology, medium, but as well looking at all the ancestral part of it, which I think in Europe and in the Western world is a bit lost.
Yes. So Hanuman Ansh is the title of our film. Hanumanji is the monkey god, and he is known as the 11th avatar of Lord Shiva. And Ansh means being a part of. So the title is being a part of Hanumanji, and it is based on the story of Neem Karoli Baba, who is a saint who was born in the 1900s. And he is a saint who has influenced a lot of people, not only in India, but all across the world, even people like Virat Kohli, Anushka Sharma. So Neem Karoli Baba is known as a mystical being, and people say that he used to... people used to see Hanumanji in him, Lord Hanuman in him, and that's why we've titled it Hanuman Ansh, so the audience gets a clear perspective of what they're looking at. And about Neem Karoli Baba, so he has his ashram made in Kachi Dham, which is in Nainital up north in India, and a lot of people, around 25,000 people, go every day to pay a visit to Baba. And there's this beautiful idol of his, and I've been wanting to go there for 2 years, but the fact that the beautiful way that how I started making the film, I got the opportunity to visit Kachi Dham twice in the span of 2 months. So again, it's all a calling, when Baba calls you, you go there. And even my experience there has been great. In fact, I've been standing in front of the Murti, and so many times when people say that you go there and a lot of your questions are answered, you don't even need to ask anything. You just have to be there, and Baba is protecting you and blessing you. And I have experienced that personally, and that is a lot of incidents that have happened with me as well have made me believe in him even more, and has motivated me to put in more energy, more love into this project. But yeah, it's been a beautiful journey. We went to Vrindavan, that's again up in north in Uttar Pradesh, where his Ma Samadhi. And that's the last place that he was in before he left his body. But again, it's just that sort of power that he has. He, in this world filled with noise, he was there during the British Raj, and he never taught anything, It was just his actions in silence is what people took away. And it was very simple, which was feed all, love all, and just say God's name. So I don't think this is a very Indian-centric film. It's very global, And again, it's a very simple message, and but it's been a beautiful journey till now.
Well, there's a lot of things there, especially for someone that is educated in the Western world, for someone like you that is in Indian and the Western world in parallel. So Nim Karoli Baba, and like you mentioned, his teaching and legacy have inspired personalities, and I just mentioned a few: Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Julia Roberts, Larry Brilliant, Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
So you touched that he didn't wrote too much, and mostly was his action. So I want to touch that because his influence, it's big in you, your passion, the way you speak about it, but it was important for all these personalities. So I want to deep dive on that because I think there's still a paradox in this world that we have so much fragments of layers of society, but especially for someone so young, you have already a passion that is very integrative in looking at this, but as well bringing this to a bigger audience.
No, absolutely. In fact, when Steve Jobs traveled to India, he actually didn't meet Baba. He arrived in Kechi Dham a couple of weeks after Baba left his body in 1973. And this was right before he made Apple. And I just want to tell you something about my feeling when I reached Kechi Dham, so I can reflect on how they would have felt when they went to Kechi Dham. So when I reached Kechi Dham, and so as I said, there were 25,000 people would come every day, but that day it was raining and the water was like feet numbing. But there was no one there because it was raining, and I have gone there and I have stood in front of Baba, and I felt like I was levitating, and I wasn't even talking to anyone, but I felt like internally I was having this conversation with him, and it was just really natural. And I can't even begin to explain like how intense the feeling was. But I feel like if I could feel that way in 5 minutes, someone who has spent weeks and months over there, what feeling would they have, living where Baba once lived? So Steve Jobs has spent a couple of weeks in Kechi Dham, and then he went back, and that's when he told Mark Zuckerberg when he was going through a tough time, when he was going to be considering to sell Facebook, and that's when he said that you should consider going to Kechi Dham, and that's where you'll gain that sort of direction and clarity in what you would want to be doing later on with your company. And then he came to Kechi Dham, he stayed there, and then he came back, and of course, what he's done with Facebook, with Meta AI, and all the amazing things that he's done. And in fact, there's this interview of Mark Zuckerberg with our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and he has mentioned a lot of these things, that his experience with Baba and the calling that he had. So yeah, I mean, I feel it's a calling, and when you go there, it's a different experience altogether. But yeah, it's been great.
So you come from India, and of course, this spiritual legacy is very special. But as a young lady, and you feel this very intense, of course. I don't know you so well on that level, but I want to understand. So I think India is very special because it can keep this kind of legacy of millionaires that come, and at the same time is looking at mediums like film. You mentioned social media, Mark Zuckerberg, and technology, and we are right now getting to AI and a lot of geopolitical challenging directions. So I want to touch. Doing this film, what is your goal? Because of course you're touching a lot of different areas, and I know that is your sentiment towards this spirituality and this personality and everything that represents, but as well, how do you want this film to be portrayed? And I want to touch this in the context of picking a film and bringing it to an audience and sharing all these different things, which touch, I would say, someone in the UK, where I am based, will look at this completely different from someone in India or someone in the US or someone in Africa.
Absolutely. And I feel it's something that's really interesting to me is that I live in such a generation that, we're the first ones to interact with AI, create these virtual agents, and in that sort of ecosystem. But at the same time, a lot of people in our generation do sit back at 2 a.m. and then think about their personality, their inner peace. They have questions about their identity as well at the same time. Because it's very easy to grasp the entire world just from one screen. But to actually reflect is becoming a difficult task for our generation. And nowadays they're calling it wellness and mental health and mental peace. But that is on the same basis of our ancient wisdom, the spirituality. It's again, when you go to temples and you go to the church, you hear the chants, and it's kind of being in the moment and then understanding your thought process at that time, because it's very very psychological, that when you're hearing Om repeatedly, you kind of all the million thoughts that are going in your mind, they stop, and then you are actually in the present. So it is on the same basis. I don't think the modern and the ancient thought process are any different. They're literally the same. And the fact that the teachings, as earlier you also asked about, Baba never gave a textbook about teachings or anything, and they're very very simple. And our film is not only just for people in India or some the Indians all across the world, but it's for each and every person, because their teachings are to feed everyone, to serve everyone, and that's also what is reflected in all the religions and all the traditions, whether it be during weddings or be it during a tradition or on the birthday celebration. It's always to serve the people, and do something and do not expect anything in return. So these are the kind of things that Baba believed in, and we're just trying to spread that all across the world.
So your work as a producer centers in precisely using cinema and media as platforms to connect Indian spiritual traditions with contemporary global audiences. Like you mentioned, you want to touch this to a bigger audience, but there's a big problem right now of, like you mentioned, people might look at mental health, well-being, which is probably the biggest challenge of your generation.
Absolutely.
And as well the attention span, because people are used to pass from one device to another and look at this. And this implies a strong connection.
Absolutely.
So I want to touch that, especially from you, as you have a producer, so you have to find the money, you have to manage the people, the script, a lot of different things, and especially you're very young as well. So tell us how you wrap up all of this together. And I think especially for people listening to us, I want to touch that, because I feel right now, if you look at everything in terms of the narratives we're speaking, there's a lot of lack of hope and sometimes direction. So how do you look at this?
No, absolutely. So being a producer, I think the most important thing is to get an amazing team together. I'm very fortunate to have a very understanding and a very ambitious team that believes in the project itself. I do encourage and allow a lot of ideas to flow, even in our film. A lot of things have happened so beautifully, and a lot of new ideas have been flowed in. And as you said, attention span, I've showed this film to a couple of people back at home. Some people from different fields altogether, some in the corporate, some being a teacher, or even kids, and they all have already choked up in the first 10 minutes, So it's a very immense feeling, and there are certain scenes that everyone will connect to, whether you're a mother, you're a teacher, or you're a student, you're seeking inner peace. So that's the thing. I can tell you there are 7 to 10 different scenes that will emotionally touch you. And again, that all of that credit goes to my team, because to come across such a beautiful script, because your script has to be really tight. You can't have any loose ends, or or each and every of our scene has a message to take away. Even if it's the smallest message, it has something to take away, and that is something that our director has kept it in mind. We've kept the process very airtight, because there's no way we can be flowing the money. Being a producer, it's very very tough to actually get everything on board and all in a structured manner. Having a very very supportive team is very important.
So you touched about the production process. At the moment, production process, like us, we are producing a film. It touches video, it touches, like you said, the script and the storytelling and the people, but it touches as well all the process to reach an audience. And of course, if you look at a trailer, it goes to YouTube, which is actually at the moment the biggest media production in the world, or biggest media platform in the world.
Right.
So I want to touch, how do you look at this, especially because you are going to be a producer in a time of hybrid between media, hybrid streaming and AI?
Yeah. So it's an entire structured process. So first, we would write the script, go through drafts of it, and then there's this entire pre-production process, right? In our case, we went through a process of reciting the Hanuman Chalisa. It's a mantra for Hanumanji. For 43 days. So we have to be already, walking on that spiritual path right before we start this incredible journey. And in fact, our lead role, Shobhina Satya himself, has fasted. He himself has been a believer for 12 years. And and as we're working on a spiritual project, and I had the opportunity to meet one of India's most followed saints, Premanand Maharaji, and he himself said that, producing this film is a great responsibility, because you're talking about a saint. So there are certain things that I have to keep in mind, and it has to be done in a structured manner, in discipline. Just because it's a movie, you can't alter even a single bit of it, because it is about a saint, right? But keeping all of that in mind, and then we went to the production. We went to Chitrakoot for our shoot, which was incredible. We had a lot of monkeys who came into the shoot, and you when you watch the film, you'll see you will have this exact same smile when you watch them jump in our scenes. And then the post-production part is where a lot of things happen, where you have to, I do believe that if you have a great product, you need to market it well, and you have to sell it eventually. Even if you have a great product, it's all right, but these two are the most important things. And we have great songs in the film. Our film itself is very emotional, and it connects with a lot of people on a deeper level. But we are in the phase right now to market it in a very in an amazing way, that it reaches not only just to his followers, but also I want to take this to all the Gen Zs and even the ones younger, kids, because there are very, very simple things like no discrimination, just helping out others. And I think this can also reach out to each and every school, and that is my goal. I'm already working on it. But it is an entire process, and we have been going through it, and now we're in the post-production stage, where we're almost done and the film is ready with us.
So I want to touch that part, like you mentioned, to bring this to young audiences.
Yeah.
So it's quite a complex work, because you have to be very good digital. You have to know how to use social media. You have to engage with different variations. So I want to touch that, and especially, like you said, because if you are even younger than 13, 14 now, some of them are being blocked to have access to social media. So in one end, there's all these amazing things, and as well, there's all the questions. So how, for instance, you mentioned that the actor fast, you are actually doing these things, which is, I think, for Western world is quite challenging, but as well very special. So I want to understand that this is more personal for me as well. How do you deep dive on this, but as well how you bring this to an audience? Because in one end you need to be very good on digital side, social media campaigns, and you mentioned songs, you mentioned streaming, you mentioned selling rights. How do you put all of this together?
That's an amazing question. So we are holding screenings for children. I have been in contact with a lot of schools back in India, some government schools, some public schools. The school that I have also gone as well, they're very excited to watch the film and to show it to the children. Because there is this kind of tradition back at home to take all the children in the school for films. So we have sort of put it in that way back at home. And in fact, in the UK, I have gotten in contact with 65 schools and universities all across. So again, I will be going there, and I want to talk to the children one-on-one. And as you said, a lot of children do not have access to social media, and I do believe the best way, and our film I know will work on word of mouth. So I do want to reach out to the children individually, and I'm trying my best, and my team is trying their best to do so, to reach out to them, because as I said, it has a lot for children to take back, primarily because our film is about Baba's life from 1900 to 1930, and it covers a huge chunk of his childhood. And it's not been spoken about, in books or videos or articles. So this is the first place where people will actually get to know more about how Baba got into spirituality, and this it's a very sweet story that I would like to share. So back in school, in my Hindi course, I had this chapter named Kaki, and that's where one of the children's mum has passed. And you know how relatives say that, oh, your mother's gone to God. He went like, oh, I want to meet my mom. I want to go to God. And that is so, that's such a sweet thing. And that's what instantly connected me with this film as well, because that is exactly what happened with Baba as well. He lost his mother at a very young age. And then that's when he said that I want to go to Lord Ram. That's when he left his house, and he went on to establish Hanuman Mandirs and that sort of thing. So, in fact, there was this one lady who had watched our film, and she absolutely choked at this scene, because she's like, I have a 10-year-old son, and I feel like this is exactly how he would react if something had happened to me. And these are also the kind of conversations that I've had have actually made us feel that, okay, you know what, people will 100% connect with this, especially children. So I'm very excited for children to watch this, and I am trying my best to reach out to them one-on-one, how much ever we can.
Well, that's definitely a very unique and special thing that I think we need to touch more. So I want to shift right now to film industry and artificial intelligence. So your generation is going to be probably the one that is on the epicenter of all this disruption coming from AI. And at the same time, there's a lot of fear right now about job lossing, especially young people not getting jobs. And at the same time, these people are looking for a dimension of wellness, spiritual well-being, and a lot of different things. So being a young professional, and as well starting your career as a producer and as a creative person, how we look at this? How are we looking at, especially your opinion, how you look at AI, how this can empower your career, and what are the things that eventually, because you are more dynamic and as well more creative on this, that you suggest to other people listening to us that are in your age, but probably in university or getting out of university?
So I'm very fortunate again to be surrounded by AI and to understand it. I'm not worried about AI taking over jobs, because creativity is something that needs a lot of depth, and that depth can be just got by humans. It can't, AI is very technical. But AI is a very helpful tool. For example, visual dubbing in our industry. It's not just dubbing, but it basically changes even the micro muscles of your face. And then it dubs from, for example, to Hindi to English. And then it becomes not a dubbed English film, it becomes an original English film. So it focuses on the nerves of your neck, to the creases on your forehead, to your jaw placement and stuff like that. And that is very interesting, and that is changing the industry, and that is the new revolution of the film industry. And I feel like these are the things that will help us go forward. And in respect to spirituality, I would like to give you an example of this film titled Lalu. So it's a Gujarati film, and it's based on Lord Krishna, and it's a very small budgeted film, and it's got nothing to do with VFX at all, and it made 100x. And the tagline was Krishna Sada Sahayate. That means Lord Krishna will always help you out. And they just played with the emotion. And again, they had nothing to do with AI, nothing to do with VFX. But all they had was emotion. And again, if you watch, I do recommend everyone to watch that film, and their locations and everything. It was such a beautiful film, and it takes out such an emotional side of you that I don't think VFX could.
So this is a very interesting point. So I want to, picking what you said, and this is kind of a question I have as well, even for myself. So at the moment, most of, for instance, a film like yours will be indexed by Google as we write, as we do this interview, as we do PR and things like that. And at the same time, will be taken by the AI LLMs, and they will be harvesting as much as they can from the film. And then there's an authority that comes from that. Like you mentioned, this film that you just mentioned, the Gujarati film, is a different angle that didn't use VFX, but use emotions to engage with audience. But the thing here is, so how do you look at the engagement with audience first? And for instance, in your case, are you targeting to launch this through festivals? Are you targeting to touch this with streaming platforms? Are you trying to take this to cinema? How do you see this? Because of course people are getting less and less to cinemas. And I know India is very close to film because Bollywood is very big in India. But at the same time, there's an entire right now transformation that touches all these different things. So I want to hear your opinion as well.
No, absolutely. And our film is not heavily dependent on VFX. I mean, we've had beautiful shots in Chitrakoot. I'm sure if I show you like some shots, you will understand the grandeur. It's amazing. But we do have certain scenes that we have to use VFX, and we're very fortunate to have that kind of access, right? And with respect to film festivals, I am definitely going to a lot of film festivals. In fact, very recently I went to the UP Film International Film Festival, and there was a very interesting thing that was said, that these days a lot of films are being made on just drama or rom-coms and stuff like that, but these kind of films, on Neem Karoli Baba and the unsung heroes of our country are not made anymore. And with that sort of transparency and with that sort of truth, and it was actually amazing to attend this film festival. But I am looking at attending a lot of different other international film festivals once our film is out.
Oh, that's amazing. So from the angle of the spirituality, from the angle of the filming, from the angle of locations, and in your case as well, all these different parts, how do you see this kind of distribution of the film festivals? And as well, so your goal right now is to distribute it through schools, through different parts, or you want to really create a career where you're going right now to go to bigger festivals? And I want to touch as well, for instance, on your team, when you do the production, you mentioned you know how to use the AI tools, but for instance, are you looking at, for instance, the data? So for instance, are you going to look, for instance, let AIs harvest some of the film? Because as you know, a lot of the challenge with filmmakers and creators is how this data can be conserved, and how we're going to be somehow dealing with the ones that is processed by pure AIs and the one that is with VFX, with humans. So how do you see that, and how you look at your own production?
No. Okay. So we're not looking into that. We're not, kind of training AI. But we have a complete human touch to it. I would say, well, max to max, two scenes, I guess, or 3 scenes is where we have VFX included and AI included. But other than VFX, there is a lot that is included in the films. For example, your color grading, your sound cleaning, and even apart from that, nowadays in filmmaking, your voices, your voice generations to script writing and stuff like that. It is very prevalent now, but that is not something that our film is based on. We have very, very limited AI, not AI use, I would like to say, in our film. But obviously later on, I mean, we have 2 more films after this, the second and the third one, and we will be open because, of course, I mean, AI and VFX do come with a certain budget, right?
Yes.
So we will be looking at that in the second and the third film. But it is very interesting to see what AI has to do. I mean, for example, I love Avatar, all the 3 of them, but again, if you see that it is not completely AI, because there are humans with their expressions, right? And I do come back to the point where AI will not completely take over, and you still need humans, their emotions, their connect in filmmaking.
I agree with you. So, and to wrap up, so I want to touch because this spiritual leader, of course, influenced 2 of the most influential tech people in the planet. And for instance, there's a lot of right now engagement that people, even for instance, at the moment, there's look at spirituality. A lot of people are doing spirituality, talking with AIs. Secondly, is using devices to do meditation. So there's a lot of kind of physical technology relationship. So you grew up with all these technologies, but you are actually going very deep into the spirituality. So how do you make this balance in terms of the use of technology and the use of on the spirituality part?
Absolutely. So, I mean, our film has also got 10 different songs. So I do connect a lot with music. And it does set the tone for what you're doing. The songs that we have, and I do listen to them every now and then, and it kind of gives me that focus into what I will be doing. So that is one physical thing that I can say that connects me to spirituality as well as the modern techie world. Yeah.
No, I understand. It's very beautiful. So I want to touch on the music, just for my own curiosity. So tell us about the music. So this 12 songs, you're going to release it in Spotify. How people can listen to that?
No, so we're still working on that. You will get to know very, very soon how you can listen to those music. But a little bit about the songs. I'm very passionate about the 10 songs that we've got. Some of them are very upbeat. They've got that very regional, linguistic, way that the songs have been written and sung. And they've got a lot of like instruments in the background. So it is kind of regional, but also modern at the same time. So, how there are bhajan jammings getting popular in the UK as well. So I can see, these songs being played and, people, vibing to these kind of songs. And there are some songs which are slow paced, very soothing. And I would say the lyrics are very beautiful. I mean, again, I give credits to my team for, getting these songs together, to writing, composing them, and to producing these songs. They're beautiful.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm looking forward to listen to that. So, last one. So, you're a young producer, a young professional, and you balance spirituality, film, creative industries, and all the things we've been discussing here. For young people listening to us, and you mentioned your team as well, how do you see this? How do you see the work of creating this process together, which is a team process, especially film, but as well all the different things? You mentioned your team was going for the spiritual innuendos as well. So a bit of how you look at this and what's your next steps?
Next steps. Okay. So we did go through an entire process so that we know that we're on the right path. And again, as I said, that there's a lot of responsibility on us. And our team has a very diverse mix of people, I would say. I mean, I am one of the young ones. We've got one of my producers has been very experienced in the industry. She's made 30 films. So I think we all bring a different perspective onto the table, and we have different opinions, different thoughts, and that's how we've all come together to make such a beautiful product. And I would believe I would bring that freshness to it, and I do want to take this to the children, so I bring that focus to it. But as of for me, what I want to do from now on, I mean, I'm tied to this for the next 2 or 3 years. My spiritual journey for the second and the third film. I mean, as soon as the first one comes out, we'll be working on the second one. And I feel that a lot of people ask me that, oh, what do you think? That what number will you hit, and you will feel like, oh, you've achieved, and you've recovered and your profits and all of that. I mean, being an economist, I do understand the numbers and blah, 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 blah. But my entire focus actually is that even if there is one new person who knows about Baba, who can at least take back one thing from the film, I think that is my return. So that is what we're working on. And again, I feel like I'm being drawn to a lot of stories about people in India who have not been told, and I do see myself getting immersed in that, and researching and getting a team together and telling those stories which need to be told all across the world. And I feel like we've just scratched the surface now. There's a lot coming in this beautiful journey.
No, thank you so much. First of all, congratulations for this passion and enthusiasm. And I think for people listening to us, I would suggest we put all the information is, first of all, deep dive on these topics, because they're very special, and I think it can actually help us improving a lot of different things. And as well, understand these nuances where I think are missing in a lot of parts in our culture. Thank you so much, Anupriya. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.